There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode here at the Fit Fighter Podcast, the podcast gym of inspirational fitness talk. I am your host, TJ Williams, certified Alpha Group Fitness instructor, as well as Liz Mills Body Combat instructor, here to give you the insight of my fitness journey, as well as analyze and discuss, analyze fitness-based subjects and highlighting individuals involved in fitness, past, present, and future. All right, so just a little update on me. I'm currently recovering from surgery. If you listen to the last podcast, I injured myself during the sporting events and had my surgery done last Friday. And of course, I'm sitting here recovering. And I mean, it's been rough for a couple of days, but I'm getting through it, and I think I'm going to be recovered very, very well. And I'll find it out when I go for my follow-up appointment. All right. Without further ado, I got a guest from overseas, and he comes from Ireland. So this is my second guest from Ireland or from overseas. So if you looked at my previous episodes, I got somebody from Australia. So this is number two. All right. So my guest is a chartered physiotherapist with a PhD in biomechanics from Ireland. And of course, he's the founder of the backawarebelt.com, as well as the I can't say his name. How would you say it?
Pilates, yeah.
Ever, yeah, how he said, okay, so professionally, he's lectured in Ireland over 10 years in sports medicine and biomechanics, publishing several peer review studies. From sporting perspective, he has won 5 national senior running titles. He has represented Ireland in the international stage from 800 meters to 5K cross country. He is a sub 4-minute miler, and he ran sub 14 minutes in 5Ks last year. And just last week, he ran 29 minutes in 10K. Oh, that's impressive. I can't do that. All right. And lastly, all right, he is a current indoor 3,000 meter European O35 champion. Oh man, this guy's got a lot of hats. So I want everybody to introduce the Eoin Everard. All right, so thank you very much for taking the time to be on the Fit Fighter. How we doing?
Thanks so much, TJ. Delighted to be here. Yeah, really happy to be here. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a lot of that's like a workout right there. I think I'm sweating. All right. So how's everything in Ireland?
Yeah, good. Weather's kind of changing, so still nice. It's that kind of fall weather, but yeah, it's all nice.
All right. So what part of Ireland are you from?
A little place called Kilkenny, so it's about an hour and a half south of Dublin.
Oh, awesome. I guess that's like a good place to visit or just a
Yeah, it's
tour,
nice.
right?
Yeah, plenty of castles. It's got a big castle and stuff. So
Yeah, probably Harry Potter castles around there, huh?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's that kind of medieval feel.
Yeah, I'll make sure I bring my wand if I go there. uh, all right, so this is what you're going to do, Owen. You're going to take us back in time. So you're going to tell us a story of how how you were before you got into all this. I mean, you definitely have a lot of hats. I can see. So I did a long introduction. So yeah, I had to I take a big breath. All right, so okay, so the first question I got is describe yourself before you got into fitness.
God, it's hard to actually remember that. So kind of fitness has always been something I've been into. Like me and my family are very sporty. So I would have always been running and playing sport with my friends. And then my mother would have brought me to some running races when I was younger. And you know yourself, TJ, you kind of know if you're good at sport or you're fast. So I just always was playing a lot of different sports in school growing up. So then you have to think about what you might want to do as after school. And because I had been to kind of physiotherapist, that was something that attracted me to physiotherapy. But I was also interested in the fitness side of things, and just purely for myself initially, you're learning about training, you're learning about, like, say, the gym, and then you do things yourself. Some things work, some things don't, but you're always naturally curious because of your background. And I know you're probably the same. It's like theoretical knowledge is brilliant, and obviously I have a PhD and I've written articles, but you can't beat, like, if you do something, like there's a feeling with it, like that, if you can put something in practice and you can actually really test it out. So like there was no really me before fitness. It's not one of those things where I came to it when I was older and I learned how to be fit. It was something that has been an evolution since I've been, under 10 years old.
Oh, so basically it's your mother that gave you that push. I mean, because she takes you to races and everything, and then you kind of build
Yeah,
up
and
from
we
there.
we and we did everything. And I would recommend, like, obviously it's hard for parents because, to get the time, but like, don't, like, I think children should be doing multiple sports. Like, I feel, even like I was a high level runner, but when my mom and my dad bringing me to different events, like we would have done gymnastics, we would have done field sports here, like soccer and GA and rugby, and like you're developing strength from some, you're developing like agility and foot-eye coordination or hand-eye coordination, and all those things help develop you to be a more rounded athlete, which helps prevent injuries as you get older. And I do also think just enhance the sports you finally do. So yeah, I think my parents are probably like taxi drivers for a good few years there with me and my my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, so I mean, my mother wasn't much of an athlete. I mean, she was a cheerleader, but of course, I had my older brother who was pretty much athletic. Football, track, and
Yes.
he had all the trophies, all pretty much all over the house. So that was like almost my envy, saying that I had to at least be like that. So, I mean, I didn't get the football and track, but mostly martial arts kind of got me to almost equal to what he's done. So that was like equivalent to what he was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Like my best friend was my brother growing up. There's about a year and a half, but I was while I was into running and stuff, I wasn't that serious about it. And then he qualified for Ireland, um, for like an underage event. Like he was, say, maybe under 14, I was under 16, and I wasn't really taking it serious. And because he did that, like he was parading around that he had ran for Ireland, that really inspired me to like start training like really hard and eventually run for Ireland as well. But again, he was like my main motivation to get back into running seriously. So sibling rivalries can be good, I think.
Yeah, so you would say that your most biggest and difficult challenge, or is there any other challenge that you can think of?
Yeah, I've had a lot of challenges. Uh, I would have, like, basically when after college here, I took a year out to run full time, and that was 2010. So the idea being get to the European Championships, and then in 2010 that would give me funding for 2011 to go to the Olympics in 2012. And for whatever reason, I had a different coach. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. I just ran terribly. Like I was running what should have been my peak, like 24. I was running slower than I had ran at like 15. And I had taken the whole year off to run, like very little money, living in a like crap house, and then you're trying your hardest, and then like it's just crashing down. But the thing is, I actually wouldn't change that year for anything. Like, even if you said no, I've represented Ireland at every level except for World Championships or Olympics. Um, but I wouldn't actually change that. If you give me the chance now that you that year wouldn't happen and you'll run for the Olympics, but you still have the stress. I actually was always stressed. I if I wrote a book now, it'd be called No One Gives a Shit, because before that, I used to be really like subconsciously worried, not like thinking that people thought this, but like but just thinking that there was pressure on me, like what would happen if I ran poorly, what would people think about me, getting very nervous for races. And the fact that I ran terribly for a year when I should have been at my peak, it allowed me to realize, God, like, nobody really cares. Your friends are still your friends. Your family are still your family. They still love you. The people that you were worried about, they just don't contact you, So after that, then I was kind of nearly semi-retired. And I just kind of was running for enjoyment, and I started getting better again. And then I just gradually started improving. And then I won All Irelands and got to represent Ireland. And I'm not even just saying that as in, oh, do this for better competition. It was just that realization just allowed me to enjoy the running so much more, and enjoy, like, I'm 36 now, I'm still running well. It was over 10 years ago now, but that was such great perspective to realize that, like, winning is brilliant, but sometimes you learn so much more in a loss or in hard times. Because you can get hit so many times that you realize, okay, my thinking is wrong here. My thinking was kind of wrong. So that was something that I had to adjust. I think with that as well, I started learning that just to enjoy, like, say for you, if you're a fighter or people are in the gym, it's like, just enjoy the process of, like, isn't it great to be out and getting fit, and like you're able to be healthy, and there's so many people not even doing that, because it's very easy for us to be like, okay, I did that session, now I'm ready, that'll get me closer to that fight, or that'll get me better at that race, or now I'm getting closer to that weight that I want to be, or this look. And you're not in the process, you're not really aware of yourself. You're always kind of living in the future of what it'll give you. So it gave me that bit more perspective of thinking, God, it's just great to be able to run, like, and enjoy running and be fit and healthy. Because before that, if I ran a really good workout, it was always about what would that workout give me for the race I was going to do in the future. And there was always like an anxiety attached to every training session, because it had to lead to that race, where now I just try stay in his, like, it's not perfect all the time, but you try to stay in a zone a lot more.
Yeah. So, I mean, you, from looks of this, you had a lot of goals on your mind. I mean, mostly, I know you was talking about the Olympics, so that'd probably be
Yeah.
nice if you actually had made the Olympics, but you actually tried to qualify.
Yeah, I tried to qualify. Yeah. I was very good as a junior. I would have went to, like, international competitions, like World Student Games, European Championships. And then that was meant to be like the stepping stone was European seniors into Olympics. And it just, as I said, like, I could go into the reasons, but like, just coaching wasn't great, or at the time I thought it was okay, but it just didn't happen. And it was not devastating, but it was like, it was gutting. Like, you have this plan in your head, you think from an early age, this is where you're going to go. But it was the best thing. It was actually so freeing. Like, I wouldn't give it up, and it's a funny thing to say about like a defeat. Basically, it's like, it was the best thing to happen to me. And now, honestly, if you give me how I used to feel, and I say ran the Olympics in 2012, like, my sister went to the Olympics and she always had that tension. And I wouldn't honestly switch my career with hers, because I kind of feel like I'm talking for her, so I can't really, but like, I just talk to myself. I wouldn't swap. If you said now, you could be right here, you went to the Olympics, but you never had that hard year, so you felt the same way the whole way through. I wouldn't take that. I take what I have, even though I have a lesser achievement there, I have more perspective. And that's a lot more important, because I went on to achieve a lot, but I kind of, after that, it's like if you're in a bubble and you realize that when you step out, it's like, okay, this is just a bubble. Like, no one cares. And what can happen is, I think sometimes if you could, like, view your life like your friend's life, it just gives you that perspective. If you have a friend, someone you really care about, but if they're telling you your problems, you're just so much more objective. You're just like, well, look, this is it, or that's not that big a deal. Whereas when you're in something, they're like, no, I need to get to this Olympics and people will judge me and this and that. Like, you can't see clearly, like, you could be here and TJ, you're listing all those achievements, but I'd be like, well, I didn't make the Olympics. Like, I'm a piece of shit, that way.
Yeah.
Where it's not that. It's like, well, look, TJ doesn't care if I did this or that or whatever. He's just going to judge it off the conversation we have, off the knowledge or the conversation that we have. That's what he's going to judge. And you need to get that perspective sometimes. And sadly, sometimes you can do it two ways. One, just try to objectively see yourself. Just constantly question, like, why do you think that? Like, think about your problems, or think about yourself like if a friend was there. So you're trying to, like, constantly get an idea of that ego. Or the second time is that you'll have failings or disappointments, because at some stage you'll get sick of feeling bad, and it'll for me, it just clicked. It's like, oh my God, the thing you're worried about happens. And when it happens, you realize this isn't that bad. Like Seneca had a thing where it was, it's like once a month, basically, be content with the scarcity of fare. So essentially it's like once a month, like pretend you're broke and ask yourself all the time. So like he's like, wear crap clothes, eat cheap food, and ask yourself, like, is this the condition I fear the most? And you realize, like, it's actually not that. It's like anything. It's like, so when I was running terribly, it's like, was this the thing I feared? Was this the thing that was making me anxious, that I couldn't sleep before races, that I was super nervous? It's like, this isn't that bad. Do you know? So like, yeah, that's a long-winded answer.
Yeah, that's like a
Makes sense.
10K.
It's a bit rambling.
Yeah, that's like a 10K right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I can pretty much relate what you're pretty much saying. I wasn't much of a runner when I was at my youth, but when I started like dieting, exercising, I was an athlete, but I was like
Yeah.
pretty heavy sets, and it was like around 2009 where I really started to take fitness to like a serious level, because
Yes.
when it comes like that, people have that health scare, that's like telling you need to at least change yourself and at least get yourself to a point where you're not having these health scares anymore. So, and yet running became something part of my life now. And I usually go out for long runs. I can't go for those short runs. I mean, I need to go on an adventure. And like,
Yeah,
because like last year I got to the longest miles I ever did was 10 miles nonstop. So it's always great when you have that music in your ear that really motivates you to like keep running. It's like really, it's like it just like it tells you do not stop. I mean, keep going, even if you're in pain, even if you like are just like sweating like crazy. And but nevertheless, it's like it becomes big. It's like mostly, I mean, for you probably run like all seasons, right?
Yeah, you usually take about like 3-4 weeks off, but the rest of the time I'm running. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, you run like usually winter, fall, summer,
Yeah.
spring. Oh man, I'm mostly a summer guy because I need that heat. I mean, I get
Yeah,
more
it's nice. It is
yeah,
nice.
I get more energy when it's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's kind of go into like who would you look up to in your journey? Because I know you say your mother pretty much took you on the journey of all these like trips or events that you do. But
Yeah, I think my parents were great, both of them.
yeah,
They
so
bring you everywhere. They're just fantastic parents. They don't they're just like, they bring you everywhere. They'd never really ask anything. You could ask them for anything, they'd nearly kind of do it. It's unusual, especially when you get older. You realize, Jesus, that we were very, very lucky that there was no, even now, if you needed something and it's never like held against you, which is unbelievable. It's like just real selfless, like just do what they'll do it. They just bring you places. They never complained or did anything. So I thought that was fantastic. um you'd be inspired, Steve Prefontaine, people like this. But yeah, generally, I just good coaches as well. Like, I had a guy, Robert Norwood, give me a lot of confidence. Was there every training session when you're a youngster. I'm sure you were the same with fighting. Like, you kind of take for granted that these people are just showing up, and then you become like older and you realize, my God, like that's a lot of sacrifice. They're there every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. When you're there, you just presume, oh yeah, of course they're going to be here. And then you get older, you realize, no, they had to take times away from their wives or their families or their jobs to do this. So I had some great coaches. I've had coaches all the way since I was 16, and just giving you that guidance on what to do, and then someone to bounce off and, express disappointments as well. So I'd say they were my parents, and then the coaches I've had have been absolutely brilliant. And I'd recommend everybody to have a coach. It's just, it's you can't get up in the morning and be thinking, what will I do today? If you're doing that, your fitness routine is broken, in my opinion. It should all be written down, and you should be able to kind of like liaise with someone. You should always know what I'm doing today, because then it's so much easier to intentionally plan what you're going to do. Like, you need to know, okay, I'm going to the gym and I'm doing this, and this. And then the next day I'm doing a run, if it's 10 miles, or I'm doing like HIIT class or Les Mills or whatever it is, and then the next day I'm doing this, and the next day I'm doing this, because once it's down on paper, it's easier to move things around. If it's like, oh, I'll see what I'll do tomorrow, either the workout's going to be terrible because you haven't really planned it, or it's just going to get forgotten about because other things will take your time.
Yeah, usually that's why I tell my participants, like usually they have to make a structure of what they're going to do throughout the week. You
Yeah,
can't
big time.
yeah, you can't just play it by ear because you're going to be messed up. Just let's say if you go to the gym and then you want to do bench press, and then all of a sudden all the bench presses are like are taken or occupied. You got all those guys hogging it, and then they don't let you in. But yet you
Yeah,
can always improvise, and
exactly.
instead of just doing that bench press with the barbell, you got dumbbells, or you
Got
got
dumbbells, you
kennel.
got the cable machine, like, yeah, but you're just targeting chest. But it's good going in there with a plan. And then, as you said, you can adjust that plan. You can go, okay, we'll do legs first, and hopefully then the bench will be open, or we'll grab those dumbbells later on. I can lie on the ground and just press up. But at least you're not going in. What's worse is when people get there and it's like, okay, what will I do? And then you see people on their phone. Then you see them kind of looking like lost kids walking around the place, not having a clue where they're going.
Mhm.
So kind of catch them out.
Uh, yeah. So, what would you say your favorite machine would be in the gym? Because I know the treadmill is probably your best friend.
No, I hate the treadmill. I always run outside.
Oh,
Yeah, I can't. It's too sweaty inside. What do I like the most? I like the hip thrust. Like, I like the hip thrust is good. I like free weights. I don't really use gym. Do you know what I love actually? TRX rows. Like going underneath them and then having your legs straight and then pulling up and back down.
uh-huh.
I love that
Yep.
exercise. Yeah, yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, that's a challenge. I mean, basically, you got to be at the right position, like the right
Yeah,
angle to be
yeah,
able
yeah,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much if you're at an angle, then you're gonna have to use like more resistance. But that's always good for an upper body workout. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it just gets those like kind of postural muscles working. And I've had shoulder problems in the past. So that underneath a bar, lifting my chest to the bar back down, like obviously I'm a runner, my arms are skinny, but that one I really enjoy. So everything else is just free weights I basically do.
All right. Awesome. All right. So we pretty much got through your like athletic background. So let's kind of get to your like profession right now. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're in bio mechanics, and then of course you teach any classes, or you just got
Yeah.
that education. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I lecture here with SCTU Waterford. So Southeast Technological University Waterford. Um so basically, as I said, I went to physio. I actually did my work placement in Montreal in Canada, and it was like in 2008. And a person just randomly came into one of the classes we were doing there, and they were like talking about this movement screen. It was the FMS at the time. And it's like something just rang in my head. It's like, oh, this is the way to do it. Like, look at the way someone moves, find their weak areas. And basically then that's taken me kind of on a journey of like trying to analyze human movement, find where people are not moving great and correct that. And then I would have had like a hip injury myself in my late 20s. So I was like, I need to do something that tries like restore the movement, restores the range of motion, gets me moving correctly. So I kind of came up with my sports Pilates, which is kind of designed, um, it's designed, for runners in particular to like stay kind of injury free, just because running is great, but it only uses like say the passive structures. And what I mean by that is it really relies on like the joints, the tendons, and the ligaments. That's why runners get those type of injuries like shin splints, plantar fasciitis, knee pain. They rarely get like a hamstring tear because they're not using those powerful muscles, like say like sprinting. They're not activating the muscles. So they need some kind of work in during once a week to like a gym, something to activate the muscles. And then there's 3 reasons why someone can't move correctly. They don't have good movement. Generally, the way the body is structured, you should have good movement in your ankle, good movement in your hip, good movement in your upper back. They're the kind of 3 key areas. So I would recommend people to, make sure they're doing ankle mobility drills, hip mobility drills, like the world's greatest stretch, and then some like thoracic mobility. The second reason someone can't move correctly is activation. Like they can't switch on the right muscles. So there you're where you're talking about your glutes, your core work there. Like we do some balance work a lot, like single leg deadlift. I love like bringing the leg back, holding that, really just activating the muscles so that the muscles start taking pressure off the joints. And then the last reason is what we call motor control. And motor control is like a lack of awareness of your position, like your technique is poor. So I'd see people, especially then when I went online, I was like, oh my God, I'd have patients come into me, especially with back pain, and they just be flexing at their back a lot, or rounding their back and causing problems. So I was like, in my head, I was like, if they could see what I see here, they wouldn't do that. Do you know, if they had the awareness? So that got me on the path of developing the back aware belts, which essentially is like a wearable technology. It gives you like instant feedback on your back position. So when you go into a poor position, it vibrates, or you can see your position on the app. And what we're trying to do then is, so someone can squat, and if they start rounding, or like deadlift, and if they start rounding, it'll buzz, or they can see their, like with a little arrow, they can see their back position go out of position, or doing a plank, if they're arching their back, it'll drop. So it was just to give people that awareness of the position. So it's been kind of an evolution, and that's kind of where I am now, analyzing movement for people, and then trying to develop that kind of Pilates program for people using the back aware belt. So hopefully we're at like beta test now with people who are using them kind of for the first time, and it's going well so far, but it's just making sure that like we get all the kinks out of it. I'm not technical at all, so it's been a journey just learning how to like develop a new product and try to get it to the market.
Yeah, that's like amazing. Like really, it's always probably great to always know if you're using the correct muscles. I mean, you don't even know how, because of course, if you're in a workout or doing a gym, you could be moving the wrong muscles, and then next you know you got an injury.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And like it's great. This is kind of something to help. Like it's great if you have someone like you, TJ, who can see it and show the person. But a lot of people, it's like they're not even aware they're doing it wrong. That was the thing, where it's like they think, if you saw me, they think they're doing it right. So it's just to give them a tool that gives them feedback to go, no, that's wrong. Like that posture, or we forget our posture is poor. So it's just giving them a tool to kind of give them that reminder here. You need to buck up the idea here a bit.
yeah, that's always important. Proper technique, when
Exactly.
as I'm teaching martial arts, teaching my kids, and I teach them like how to do a good kick. And I'm telling them like this is where your knee has to be, and this is the weapon of your foot that you need to kick with. And
Yeah.
it's like, and I give them like an idea. Like if they don't understand what I'm saying, I just give them saying, make it simple for them, saying like, look at this way, you're kicking the door open. So that's
Yeah.
how your kick
Brilliant.
is supposed to be. So that's how basically the technique is more important than focus on agility, speed, power. It's just that technique has to be perfect first. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And as I said, if they're still not getting it with the technique, you just want to make sure that like, okay, is their balance okay? Are they good with balance? Do they have good movement at their hip or at their ankle? Maybe it's like they can't lift the leg into that position. So it's going to be one of those three things. And then, as you said, once you have the technique, it's easy to build like strength and power and speed on top of that, because you have a great foundation. But that foundation has to be good movement, good like stability or activation, and then good technique. Those three things. And one of them is generally falling down if there's an issue with general technique or movement in general. So if you can't do a movement in general, it's generally one of those three things.
Amazing. Hey, so I mean, you pretty much covered like subject that we need to know. It's like we need to make sure we're treating our body correctly to do a proper technique. So that's good. So is there anything else that you can think of that people need to know?
Yeah, I think if you're structuring your gyms or you're structuring things, just remember that you want to have a little bit of everything in it. So if it's a gym, have good movement at the start, then make sure that you have a base of like work capacity, which is like basically the ability to tolerate load. What that means is that like do reps of like 12 or 15 reps of things. Once you have decent movement, that allows your body to get more robust and strong. So do like more your circuity type of work, then you can work on more max strength with those bases underneath, because your body is tough. Then if you have strength, you have like power in your engine, like your muscles can generate force. Then you can go for power, and then you can go for speed. So it's just like, make sure that we're nearly like a car. You need to develop in it. You need to make sure that the car won't break. You need then to develop good like horsepower, then the efficiency to the wheels, and then how the wheels hit the ground. But that'll make it good. And then, as you said, with good movement, check your ankle mobility. There's loads of drills out there. Check your hip mobility and thoracic spine, and then look at like some glute work, some activation. If people want like a free trial of like Pilates to see, you can go to everardpilates.com. So everardpilates.com. Or if they're into running, I have a book. It's called everardpilates.com/book. It's called How to Get to the Line in the Best Shape Possible. Just gives you different like stuff on running technique and running training. So like what's tempos, what are fartlek, stuff like that.
Yeah. And also going back to running, I know it has to take a lot of lung power because I went to like the seminar like in July, mostly the martial arts convention I went to, and they was doing a seminar like on proper breathing. So
Yeah.
that's always important when you're training or even running, because if you're not breathing properly, then you're gonna get winded like quick. So what's your view on that? So yeah.
Like I would learn those techniques, but the thing is, like with running technique or breathing, don't overthink about it either. Like your body kind of knows what to do. If you're winded, a lot of times, like there's two energy systems. There's the aerobic system and there's the anaerobic system. And especially like someone like you, TJ, if you're like, you come from like a very power based strength, you probably have a very high anaerobic and a lower aerobic, in like kind of naturally, or how you developed. So what you want to do there is you want to just make sure you're not going too fast, and gradually build up over time. So there's three systems. There's your Vo2 Max, which you can fix, your lactic threshold, which would be like if you're doing a running session. So say you did 10 minutes or 15 minutes of a warm-up, then you want to do like 3 by 7 minutes. So you do 7 minutes at a pace at like 85%, where you can like sing one line of a song, or you can just say like, I'm going okay. If you're saying I'm going, oh, okay, you're going too hard. You've now gone into anaerobic. So sometimes with aerobic training, it's going slower and staying in the aerobic zone, as opposed to going faster, which feels harder, but you're actually working anaerobically. So you're not going to improve in aerobic distances then. Anything over 5K, you're not going to do better. So sometimes go slower to go faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, really, for you want to make sure you have that aerobic your aerobic in check, then next you're not going to anaerobic. You don't want to get rid of those. Don't want to get rid of those I think you said triphosphates, so you won't be able to lift anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So before we kind of get into our hidden gem, here's the last question I got to ask you. What motivational and inspirational quote you best describes your journey?
I love the one Theodore Roosevelt. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or how the doer of deeds could have done them better. No, the credit goes to the man who's in the arena, whose face is marred with blood and sweat and sand, who errs, who comes up short time and time again. Because there is no victory without error, no success without shortcoming. The man who at his best knows the feeling of sweet success, and at his worst, if he fails, he fails valiantly. So his place will never be with those cold nor timid souls that neither know victory nor defeat. And I just think I love that, because it's like, it's just trying. It's like turning up again and again that makes the difference. It's not, you like someone on the stand telling you how you could have done it better, or like, it's not about them. It's about you're the one trying the thing. You're in the arena. It's like you owe nothing to nobody. Like you don't owe anything to anybody. It's like you're just doing your journey and you're enjoying it, and you shouldn't just remember that. It's like by trying, even if you fail, at least you fail trying something. If you have say if you're doing your 10 miles or you want to do a half marathon and it doesn't go to plan, it's like, yeah, but you're out there trying that. You could just be sitting on your sofa and not doing anything. So like that's a victory in itself. So I love that. I love that kind of little speech. It kind of puts things in perspective for me.
And that kind of goes with what my track coach once told me. It's like either you win or lose by the inch. So yeah, just thinking about when I was competing in Vegas. Of course, I was keep competing against this world champion in Kata. So
Yeah, yeah.
yet, of course, I lost by zero point 0.3 points. So that was
Oh
like an
no.
inch. So I was
Yeah.
like, I wasn't upset about it, but it was only two of us in the division. That zero point 0.3 point would have determined if I would have gone to like grands to win the cup. But
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that being like my first time actually going for like the Norris Cup. So of course, but yet at least next time I know to work like that zero point 0.3 points harder. So if next time, then I can probably be ready for that Norris Cup. Yeah.
And as well, it's like, say if someone says, "Oh, you lost there, TJ." It's like, sorry, who are you to say that to me? Like you put in the work, you tried hard. It's like we're in a sport or we're in sport. It's like it is dog eat dog. There's only one winner. Like, but it doesn't mean just if you don't win, it doesn't mean you're a loser. It's like you've put in the work, you've tried hard. It's like say if I said to you, TJ, I was like, "Oh, you could have tried harder, you could have made it." It's like you'd kill me. Like one punch, I'd be literally dead. It's like, or someone says to me, "Oh, you didn't do this." It's like, sorry, I'd absolutely smoke you in a race. Like you're not training like I'm training. You don't know what the work I've done. So, like that, it's like, obviously you're going to be disappointed for yourself, but it's like you've put in so much work there. You got so close, and that's a victory in itself. And I know people be like, "Oh, that's defeatist." It's not. You're trying your hardest. And like I've had unbelievable successes, as I said. I've had unbelievable failures. In the end of the day, it's like it's just trying. I never try less for one or more for the other. It's just sometimes it's there for you, sometimes it's not. And it's all you can do is your best and be happy with that effort and be content in yourself.
Amazing. I mean, this is like definitely a best journey that you ever told us. So we pretty much are getting out of this time machine that you brought us in. So yeah, definitely. I like the DeLorean type. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bringing Doc back.
Yeah. I actually got in that thing and actually fell. Well, not fell completely, but I mean, that thing that's low is low, the DeLorean.
Oh, did you get into one?
Yeah, actually, when one of them Comic Cons that they had like the
Oh,
DeLorean.
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, luckily I don't drive stick. So really. All right. So I couldn't drive the car out of there.
Couldn't get it to 88 miles an hour.
All right, so now since we're on a time machine, we got dropped off to the hidden gym. So this is the fun part of the whole podcast. So this is the 7 questions I'm going to ask you. So this is going to be at the best of your ability, Owen. So
Brilliant. Looking
are
forward
you
to
ready
it,
for
TJ.
this?
Yeah.
All right, so the first question would be the best advice you ever gotten and who said it?
Anthony DeMello, he was a priest. I listened to this on a podcast, and it was become aware of your feelings. Don't get anxious about being anxious, or don't get depressed about being depressed. Just acknowledge that it's there and just continue with your day. That was the best advice I ever got.
All right. Well, here's the one question that people don't get, but the worst advice you've ever gotten.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, okay.
What was the worst advice I've ever gotten? Do you know what? I had an uncle who, when I was applying for physio, helped me with my personal statement, and it was terrible. It wrote he just wanted me to write all my achievements I had done, like under 12, under 13. And I just wasn't focused at all. He was trying his best. I think though, what I only started thinking about that recently. I think what I learned from that though, years on, it's like if someone gives you good advice, and I didn't know any better, I was only young, but in the end of the day, that was my application. So take people's advice, but if it doesn't feel right, be willing to discard it. Do you know that way? So listen to things, but if it doesn't feel right, and that didn't feel right to me, but I actually sent that application off and I got no offers. So
Yeah.
it was just terrible application. So that was the advice on that. But you always learn a lesson. As I said, that lesson, I've only recently thought about that. It's like, okay, if you ever feel that it's wrong, go with what you feel like yourself, because at least then you'll be able to stand over it.
Yeah. Right. Amazing. All
What's the worst
right.
advice you've got?
Well, if I can think of it, no, man. Usually this question gets me. So really, probably to
That's a
think
great
of.
question, though. I love that.
Yeah, I got all these worst advice. I can't even think of one. I mean, probably, well, probably saying that probably the worst advice that like saying that you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but and usually one advice that good advice I could say, the best advice I kind of get this kind of goes for me. Say a game is not a game if you don't lose at all.
What do you mean by that?
A game is not a game if you don't lose at all. So if a game is too easy and you win all the time, I mean, what's the point of
Yes.
playing that game? So
Yeah.
what's the point of playing the game if you're sitting on easy? Why don't you put it on hard and see how
Yeah.
if you win? So yeah,
Yeah. That's great. I love that. Yeah, be challenging yourself. That's great. That's
yeah,
brilliant.
so
I like
yeah.
that. I might steal that one.
Yeah. All right. Next question. How do you reward yourself? I call this like the guilty pleasure. So this is like, how do you reward yourself?
Big fan of ice cream,
Oh
actually.
yeah.
If I have something good after a race, or I might have a takeaway. If I've had a race, I'd have a takeaway. Yeah, they're my main ones.
Yeah, so is there any other guilty pleasure? I mean, other than ice cream, do you like always go out celebrate? Like you have like that time with your family and friends?
No, like we're lucky. My family live close to me, so we'd go up there for like Saturday dinner. I'd see them regularly. Um, Not much of a drinker or anything like that for an Irishman, but
Yeah.
uh yeah, so say it like that. But again, no, not really. Just again, it's like I like the one of like, don't let victories go to your head or defeats go to your heart. I'm quite like not in a bad way, but I'm quite placid. Like usually, if you, even though I do a good race, I think sometimes people get, you saw it with Tyson Fury. I think sometimes what can happen is if people build things up in their head about something will be awesome when you get it, when you get that thing, trying to chase the, oh my God, the celebration and everything off, it can lead to trouble. I think sometimes just accept that that was great, have your little celebration or have a smile about it, but just like move on. Like everything passes, good and bad, so I try and keep quite level on those things.
Yeah. Kind of going back to the best advice. Here's another one I kind of came up with. No matter how many championships you win, you're still a challenger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's class. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
find that sports people are very like that. They hate
Yeah.
losing. They don't really, probably badly, but we don't really reward ourselves for winning. Like you're kind of taking winning that you should win, and then it's the losing you hate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a
well.
good one. I like that. No matter how many championships, you're a challenger. I love it. TJ, give me gold here.
Hey, all right. So here's the next question. What famous celebrity would you like to work out with?
Oh God, who would I work out with? I think Ryan Reynolds. I think he's funny.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
Who do you go with?
Well, like all throughout all the people that I interviewed, I say The Rock.
I was going to say The Rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if The Rock would let me in though. I'd like someone who's like very real.
Yeah.
So if I could get like behind The Rock, sometimes I feel with The Rock, he's a little bit like manufactured or something. So I'd love to know, like, is he now? Maybe he's just like that all the time, but I love to see if he's like that. Maybe he is. It'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart as well. I find him hilarious,
Yeah.
and he's in good shape. So I think he get a good workout.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if I actually ran into The Rock one of these days. I mean, really, it's a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you seen that video that the guy was at the wax museum, and then it was like a statue of him, and the next the Rock came right behind him.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so funny. I didn't see that. I must look that one up. That's great.
yeah, yeah. I'd be surprised. I go into a wax museum like somewhere, and the next the real person's right behind me, and I get
Yeah,
scared to death.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, special talent or secret talent.
Secret talent. I can play the piano averagely. What other secret talents? don't really have many secret talents. I try to tell the world.
Yeah, so I mean that's at least something out of outside, like you're playing piano, so that's like nothing
Yeah,
athletic. I mean,
like it just de-stresses me. I can only really play one song really well, but that's all I need.
yeah. I mean, luckily you're not voice impersonator, but yeah,
No,
that's awesome.
exactly. Yeah. He's just singing to someone else.
All right. So if you were in a movie, what kind of movie would you be in?
Probably a comedy. I like comedies. Just something, definitely not horror. So like something like a comedy.
Oh, it's like kind of like Benny Hill.
Benny Hill. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
No, something like Wedding Crashers or something like that. Like, those kind of like just mess around movies.
yeah, really something like really it's like not running, but not just pretty much comedy. Yeah.
Just comedy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Last question. 10 years from now.
God, yeah. What am I doing?
Mm,
10 years from now, I'm 46. I don't know. Probably, hopefully, just same. Hopefully, I'm kind of fit and, um, like I have a thing of like I know I'm being successful when, because I like to, rather than like have goals, just be like like I know I'm being successful when I have time to be fit and healthy, and I have time to spend with my family, and I have time to work on my, like, like for me a successful day is if I get up, I work out, I can have a nap, and then I can kind of work on projects that I'm excited about, and hopefully I'm doing the same in 10 years.
amazing. All right. So before we kind of close this gym, you have any last minute words you got to say to those listeners out there?
No, thanks so much for having me, TJ. I actually learned a lot. I love those quotes you gave me. Again, if people want my book, How to Get to the Line in the Best Shape Possible, just with running advice, it's everardpilates.com/book.
Amazing. All right. Thank you very much for Owens for taking the time or taking your afternoon. Pretty much. I know it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
like
yeah. Sorry, I nearly
it's
got
still morning
confused with the
time.
times.
Yeah. So I'm always up
TJ,
right
thank you
now.
so much for having me. I really appreciate that.
All right, so I'm gonna do my closing of my show. Okay. All right. For those who are just tune into my previous episodes on the bicbpradio.com, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And I'll see you next time for another episode here at the Fit Fighter Podcast. This is your fitness instructor, TJ Williams, closing the gym. Yes.